I'm Jeff Pospisil, the 10-Minute Treasurer, with practical advice for improving your church's financial future. In this video, I'm going to be talking about church budgeting, and I happen to find three game-changing ideas in the Book of Discipline of all places. Two of these I think I've talked about maybe in the past, but the third one I've only recently embraced and understood the significance of it. So that one was kind of exciting. By the way, if these videos, this one or any of my other ones have been helpful, I encourage you to help other churches by liking, subscribing, sharing, all that good stuff. The first idea is, are you willing to fundraise the budget you approve? And the reason why I think this is important is because I've seen it in many churches where they will budget expenses up here, but their regular operating income that they see is down here. And if you push them on that gap, what is that gap? They will say, well, that's the faith part of our budget. We're relying on the Lord through faith to fill that gap. And in my Bible, when you read through the book of James, as well as many other places, there's a connection between faith and works. And your faith is evidenced by your works. So are you willing to work and have God use you to fill that gap? Not just have God do it all by himself, because he tends to want to work through people. Will you be willing to work to have God use you to fill that gap? And so when you're budgeting, I think you have two options, or you can use a combination of them, by the way. But your first option is, okay, can we raise the income up? What can we do? And I know you don't have a ton of control over income, but there are things you can do to help increase your income. And I'll link to a video that I've put out on how to do this. So that's option number one. The other option is, uh, again, relying on the Lord to bring the budgeted expenses down. Make some hard choices, some ministry decisions on bringing the expenses down. If you don't think you can increase the income, what can we do to bring down the expenses? And then, of course, you can do a combination, bring one up and one down. So that's the first idea. The second idea is that people support what they help to create. And this was an idea that was really impressed upon me by Pastor Randy Hedge out of Madison, South Dakota currently. And Randy said basically that, the temptation is that you would put together a plan and that it'd be a really good plan and people would see that it's really smart and then they would just adopt it and carry it out. But that's not how it works usually. A lot of times then they just don't have that sense of ownership, and so they're not willing to go all out to make sure the plan goes through. But if they're part of the creation process, then they do have that sense of ownership. And what the plan may not be as good as what you could do on your own, but guess what? When you got people that are feeling that ownership, the chances of success go way up. And so what does that look like in the budget world? As a finance guy, it's easy for me to say, I know the numbers, I'll just fill them in, and then you guys live by it. But then they normally don't watch their budget as closely if they don't have a chance to have their 2 cents in that budget. So I give budget worksheets, and I try to give enough room to where they can fill in the numbers. I can provide some assistance if they want. They can change up the lines, the different budget line items if they want. I do try to give that kind of freedom in that creation process. So there's going to have to be some give and take, but if they don't have a hand in that creation process, chances are they're not going to follow the budget anyway. So the third idea is that a budget is a plan and not a prediction. And I got to tell you, this was the toughest one for me to embrace because in my personal budgeting life, I'd always thought that I could come up with the ideal budget that would fit every month, all 12 months of the year. And so, but it wasn't until I started using Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar app that I had to abandon that because the app forces you to um, uh, to have a plan for every dollar. So every dollar of income, you have to have a plan on how that's going to be used. And so what you end up doing is that every month you're kind of taking a fresh look at your budget and adjusting that a little bit one way or the other. And then even every week as you're seeing maybe something was more expensive or less expensive, then you're adjusting your budget and making sure that every dollar is accounted for. And it has made a world of difference in my own budgeting life. I've seen the results, and it's been awesome. So, but what does that look like in the church world? Well, for me, I have one church that is considering quarterly adjusting their budget. So they would look at how they're doing compared to what they thought they were doing and making adjustments up and down for income or expenses, and then bringing that to the administrative council for approval. And I like the idea because what I used to always do is I used to, instead of making adjustments to the budget, I would just add notes to say why my predictions were wrong. So income was up more than expected, or down, or the snow removal was up or down, or whatever it would be. But I'd have all these notes that would explain why my predictions were wrong instead of adjusting my plan, because now I'm smarter than I was when I first approved that budget, because I just have more experience in the current year. So I really like that idea of adjusting the budget mid-year based on what you currently know, and maybe as much as quarterly, adjusting your plan, not explaining why your predictions were off. All right, I hope that has helped you. Again, this is a ministry of the Dakotas Conference's Finance Office, as well as the Dakotas United Methodist Foundation. And if you want, you can find more of our stuff at www.dakotasumc.org. And again, we're doing this all because of Jesus, mission, and connection. All right, God bless you.